Malone is the friendliest, kindest person I've ever met. It's almost like somebody you went to high school with or like a friendly neighbor. Like he's just very warm and welcoming.
All right, so yeah, hi. Thanks for being here today. So let's just get started by asking like, how did you get started in the industry? How did you become Diego Av? Is it Av or Eve?
No, it's Av, it's Av.
Av. Okay.
Like it's actually just like my last name cut off a little bit.
Yeah.
So how I started in the music business was actually me interning. I started interning at a music studio, and I ended up becoming a assistant engineer for a writer producer named Rico Love. So working with him for a few years, I ended up having him record on some of my beats. Eventually, I signed with him, and then everything kind of just went amazing after that. I just kept getting new placements and moved. I ended up moving to LA, and yeah, LA is definitely where I got a lot of more placements as well. So it was really just from interning, starting from the
Uh,
beginning.
so your first producer was Rico Love, right?
Well, he's the first person that kind of put me on as a producer.
Uh,
He's a writer producer as well, but he kind of took me under his wing and helped me start my career.
that's great. So, what would you say is the long-term key to being a successful producer?
I would say the way to have longevity in this business is one, collabing with other people, collabing with writers, collabing with different producers. Taking, not stealing their ideas, but you kind of learn their ways and how they do things, and applying those same techniques in your own manner, in your own way, and also being open minded. Because music is constantly changing, especially with the sounds and the type of different sounds they use. You want to try to keep a young ear and just keep working with these new young producers as well, and kind of seeing what the new wave is.
Definitely. Yeah. Hey, speaking of collaborations, so you recently just worked with KSI on his new album, All Over the Place, right? So I see that you're credited with working with 21 Savage and Future on some of the songs. So can you tell us about that? What was it like working with him and all these other artists that you're working with?
Sure, yeah. So it started me being on tour with Rico Love and Future. This was about 6 years ago. On that tour, Future recorded to one of my beats, and I actually engineered it as well. But I had that record for a while, so I played it for my manager, Mams Taylor, and he was like, "Yo, this would be a dope idea to give to KSI for his project." I was like, "Okay, let's do it." I just wanted to reproduce it a little bit, make it more modern because it was a little bit older. So I had me and my buddy Bankroll got it work on beat, and we ended up giving it to him. He recorded it, he loved it, and the last step was bringing 21 Savage on that third verse. So it was a process. It took a while to get the record to happen, but it's finally out, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I listened to it a couple minutes ago. It's really good. So it's no secret that you've worked with a lot of celebrities. So what would you say is your favorite or most memorable story with someone?
I mean, I have worked with a lot of different artists, but for like my personal accomplishment and like my personal favorite session, I'd have to say was Will Smith. I know it sounds wild, but it's just because he's like an icon for me. I grew up watching that's the Fresh Prince, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
that's dope. So he came in, he wanted to work on some music, maybe he was bored, I don't know, but he just wanted to work on some music. And he came in, we did records for him. This was with Rico Love at that time. We did a bunch of records for him, and I don't even think he recorded anything. He just wanted to be in the studio, but just having him there and his energy, his vibe was great. It was a great session.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So do you have any industry secrets that you want to spill to those starting to rise up? Like, would you recommend your website? Because I know you have one.
Yeah, I would say follow my YouTube first of all, because I try to give tips to up and coming producers, and ways to try to make sure you solidify those placements. That's the key, is to get these placements. Have people keep your records. That's the whole thing. Because it's one thing to get album cuts and artists cutting on your beats, but for them to want to keep it and put on their project, that's a whole different story. So yeah, one of my big things I would always say on my YouTube would be to always be prepared in your sessions. So if you have a session with a big artist coming up the next day, just load up on loops, load up on samples, get everything you want prepared, so when you come to the session, you don't look like you're all over the place. You just have everything organized. It's like you're preparing for war, and you want to win that battle. You want to make sure you get that placement.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, speaking of that YouTube, I noticed that you give a lot of tips and tricks out to other people, like people who are starting up. Why would you do this? In the way that I know you have a hectic schedule and you work with a lot of producers, like, so like why take the time out of your day to make this content?
I feel like you have to, as someone who's, been through it all and I've seen a lot of things. I feel like it's almost a law for someone who has success in the music business to give back to the people who are trying to make it, because it's not an easy business. It takes a lot of time and hard work. And I've been lucky enough to get where I am, so I feel like I have to give back to them. I don't always post on my YouTube, but when I do, it's when I find something that really inspires me, like, oh, this is a good idea. I should share this with the youth and let them, absorb it and apply it to their lives.
Definitely, yeah. So I see they worked on Post Malone's Zack and Codeine for beer bottles and Bentleys. So what was that like? Is like he's a chill guy? Is he demanding? What's that
No,
like?
Post Malone is the friendliest, kindest person I've ever met. It's almost like somebody you went to high school with, or like a friendly neighbor. Like, he's just very warm and welcoming, very humble. He has a real unique way of working too. Like, he'll go into the booth, he'll record a bunch of melodies with no words, just different mumbles. And then his engineer slash producer, Louis Bell, he would arrange everything with him and make it a full record without words. And then he
Wow.
would put the words in after. He would like write it down and figure out what the song is gonna be called and the words, and then he will re-record it with the actual words in. So it's a really dope process. So it was amazing working with him.
Oh, that's interesting because I would have thought that he puts in the mumbles and all that stuff afterwards, not before.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's great. So to end it off, kind of, what's next for you? I know that you're working with a lot of big artists out there. So what's next for Diego Ave?
For me, what's next is not just trying to work on one single or one record for someone's project, but actually taking an artist and building a whole project with them together. Like, I want to executive produce albums. I've done already one. I'm working on a few other ones now, and also signing producers. I want to really build a team around me, and start working my way towards being an exec in this industry.
Oh, sounds great. Well, that's all the questions that we have for you today. So yeah, thanks for coming on. And
I appreciate.
yeah. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, I said I appreciate you.
Ah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Bye.